This guy says the horse
Welcome to Odds and Ends, and I am your host, Mike Tice. Well, Week 6 of the National Football League did not start on Thursday night like it typically does due to the many schedule changes related to the COVID-19 virus. Well, speaking of COVID-19, there's been some new positive tests at the Colts facility this week. I think the game against the Bengals is still in question, possibly. Dak Prescott, what a horrible, tragic injury for the Dallas Cowboys. He was off to such a great start, wishing a speedy and healthy and 100% recovery for quarterback Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of quarterbacks, speaking of injuries, how about Alex Smith making a comeback after the tragic injury he suffered a couple years ago, and now he, for the Washington Football Club, is back in the mix. Although he is not starting this week, Kyle Allen will start for the Washington football team. So, scoring continues to be off the charts through 5 weeks. Most total touchdowns through 5 weeks in NFL history. 453 total touchdowns. Most offensive touchdowns through 5 weeks. 436 with Dalvin Cook, running back of the Vikings, and running back Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. Both have 7 total touchdowns. Most total points scored through 5 weeks, 3,958 total points. Total points per game average, slightly up from last week, 51.4 points per game. I hope you're betting the overs. 7 teams are now scoring at a 30-plus clip per game, led by the Packers, coming off a bye, 38 points a game. The Seahawks, who have a bye, 33.8 points a game. The Cowboys, we'll see what happens there, 32.6 points. The Brownies, and they take on the Steelers this week, 31.2 points per game for the Brownies. The Saints, 30.6 points per game. The Titans, coming off that big win against the Bills, and they look good, 30.5 points. And the Raiders, who are on a bye after beating the Kansas City Chiefs last week, they are at 30.2 points per game. Well, a couple of players who got off in Week 5. Defensive tackle Aaron Donald of the Rams, 4 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, absolutely tremendous performance. And speaking of tremendous performances, what about the rookie wide receiver from Notre Dame, Chase Claypool for the Steelers? 3 touchdowns, 7 catches, and 110 yards. My hat is off to you fellas. Highest passing rating through 5 weeks, 95.6. Highest completion percentage, 66.2%. A lot of teams are doing the catch and run, throw it to the underneath, throw it to the back, let them run, be athletic. One team each week, for the first time ever, has overcome a 16-point deficit to win. First time ever that is through 5 weeks. And the league will be happy about this one. 50.6% of the games have been decided by 8 points or fewer. That'll keep you tuned in to those games. No blowouts happening in the NFL this year. Well, not many anyway. Pickups and play-ins, it's fantasy football time. You got to play wide receiver Robbie Anderson of the Panthers. He's one of only 3 wide receivers with 300-yard receiving games to this point. DeAndre Hopkins has 3 for the Arizona Cardinals. Calvin Ridley for the Atlanta Falcons has 3 as well. Running back Alexander Mattison. Well, tough 4th down run there, but let me say this. He had an excellent game for the Vikings. I'd start him because Dalvin Cook is still hampered with that groin. I'm not sure he's even going to play this week. Wide receiver Devontae Adams, speaking about playing, has been off 2.5 games. He should be back against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that big game. I would definitely start Devontae Adams this week. Well, I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to pick 5 games for him, and then I'll be back to pick my pick of the week. So we'll see you in a second on Odds and Ends. Well, welcome back to Odds and Ends, and now I'm going to pick 4 games. I felt like Tom Brady there. 4 games, 3 of which are 1 p.m. Eastern Time starts. The Bears, coming off that big win over the Bucs 2019 last week. They're -1 in the turnover differential. They're going to go to the red-hot Carolina Panthers. They're +3 in the turnover differential. They're 3-2. They've won 3 straight after starting 0-2. They're going for their 4th win. The Bears quarterback Nick Foley, they did enough to win that game. Wide receiver Allen Robinson was tremendous. 10 catches, 90 yards. Tight end, Jimmy Graham is becoming a red zone threat for the Bears. Khalil Mack finally got some numbers. 2 sacks last week. Defensive tackle Akeem Hicks, coming off that injury last year, is tied with the team lead with Khalil with 3.5 sacks. The Bears are 4th in the league in defense, scoring defense, 20 points a game. But they got to play Carolina red hot. Quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, 116.2 quarterback rating last week against the Atlanta Falcons. Running back Mike Davis, 149 yards from scrimmage. And remember, Christian McCaffrey's not even playing. Wait till he comes back. Wide receiver Robbie Anderson, 8 catches for 112 yards last week. The Panthers are 49.15% conversion on third down offense. That's really good. I think that's 6th in the league. Shaq Thompson, linebacker, 10 tackles last week. Carolina going for that 4th win in a row. I like the Panthers, -1.5 at home. Speaking of the Falcons, they made a head coaching change, 0-5. Boy, terrible start. And the Vikings, man, they're 1-4, but they're coming off the Vikings. That tough road loss, 27-26 in Seattle. Running back Dalvin Cook injured a groin in that game, did not return. As I mentioned, a head coaching change. Wide receiver Calvin Ridley leads the NFL with 4 100-yard games receiving. As I said previous, there's only 3 players that have 3+ 100-yard games receiving, and Calvin Ridley leads the way with 4. But for the Vikings, running back Alexander Madison came in after the injury last week to Dalvin Cook, had a great game. Wide receiver Adam Thielen, wide receiver rookie Justin Jefferson, who's off to a good start. I think that's too much for the the Falcons defense. The Vikings defense are number 1 on third downs, only giving up 27.78 conversion percentage. I like the Vikings -4 at home. The other 1 o'clock game, the big one, the Brownies 4-1, +6 in the turnover differential. They travel to the Steelers, who are 4-0. They missed a game because of the COVID cancellations. They are +3 in the turnover differential. The Steelers are. And the Browns last week beat a good Colts team 32-23. The Steelers beat the Eagles 38-29. Quarterback Baker Mayfield has a little banged up ribs. Wide receiver Landry and Beckham Jr., both a little nicked up. I think Beckham's got a little cold or something. The Steelers defense giving up only 21.8 yards, points per game, 64 yards rushing per game. And how about wide receiver rookie Chase Claypool from Notre Dame last week? I said 3 touchdowns last week. What a great job by him. The Browns, though, are rushing for 188.4 yards a game. They're scoring 31.2 points per game. I think the answer is the Browns' defense this week in this game. Their defense is only giving up 87 yards rushing, and Myles Garrett has 6 sacks on the season. I like the Brownies +3.5 on the road in Pittsburgh. And the Rams, the 8:20 game Sunday night, 4-1, 0 in the turnover differential at the 49ers, struggling right now, 2-3, -2 in the differential. The Rams beat the Washington football team 30-10. They should have, and the 49ers got decimated by the Dolphins 43-17 at home. Wide receiver Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp having great years. Defensive tackle Aaron Donald, 4 sacks last week, 4 quarterback hits. He has 7.5 total sacks to lead the league. Their defense, the Rams, only giving up 18 points a game. That's 3rd in the league. Quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo off to a bad start this season, had that ankle. Running back Raheem Mostert looks like he's getting healthy. And, of course, they have the great tight end in George Kittle. But I think the Rams' D is too much for the 49ers. I like the Rams -3.5. I'll be back in a minute with more of odds and ends and my pick of the week, going for 1 in a row. We'll see you in a sec. Welcome back to Odds and Ends. And now for my pick of the week, I'm going for 1-0, one in a row. Hey, listen, I'm 15-10 for the season. I showed you that graphic earlier. 4-1 last week, but I didn't hit my pick of the week, so I'm going to try to start a new cycle here and get back to that winning way with my pick of the week. But 4:25 p.m. Eastern time game, I'm going to go with the Packers at the Bucks. I'm going to choose that game. The Packers are +3 in the turnover differential. The Bucks are +2. The Packers are coming off the bye. The Bucks are coming off that tough loss in Chicago. Wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, Devontae Adams, is back after missing 2.5 games. Running back Aaron Jones off to a tremendous start. He's averaging 5.8 yards per carry. That is wonderful. Linebacker Zadarius Smith has 5 sacks in 4 games for the Packers, and the Packers are number 1 in scoring at 38 points per game. Bucks quarterback Tom Brady had the snafu late in the game last week, needed another down. Wide receiver Mike Evans is limping a little bit. He's got a bad ankle. Running back Leonard Fournette is not totally healthy. He's banged up. He's questionable. Jason Pierre-Paul, he's back. He's got 4 sacks for the Buccaneers, but the Green Bay Packers have Aaron Rodgers, and he is off to a tremendous start. So I like the Packers going on the road to Tampa Bay, beating the Bucks -1, and that's my pick of the week. Listen, I hope all your teams win. I hope all your spreads cover. And listen, stay safe, wear a mask, social distance, and let's go and have a great weekend rooting for our own teams, our home teams, or whoever it is that you're following. Stay safe, be well. We'll talk to you next week on Odds and Ends.